In part B, he'll be asking you 4 questions and you are supposed to attend only 2 questions. You're also going to learn about meaning and definition of GST, objectives of GST, features and advantages of GST, and also the disadvantages of GST. In unit number 3, you will be mainly studying about what is input tax credit, who are eligible to claim input tax credit, who are not eligible to claim input tax credit, and how to distribute this input tax credit to the business entities, and who will get this input tax credit. Hello everyone, I am Arun Kumar, lecturer in Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram Postgrad College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Dear students, welcome to the very first session. That is the syllabus introduction session on the subject GST Law and Practice, which is there for 5th SEM BCom students who are studying under University of Mysuru. Yes, dear students, in this particular session, we are going to discuss about the subject called GST Law and Practice, which is there for 5th SEM students. So in this particular session, dear students, we are going to discuss about the introductory part of the subject and a revised NEP syllabus as per the NEP syllabus. What and all the units or the chapters they are given under this subject, and the exam pattern for this particular subject, and also the books for reference for this GST Law and Practice subject. So this is the agenda for today's session. So moving further, syllabus. So if you look into the syllabus in this particular subject, dear students, totally we have 5 units. So in this subject we have 5 units. So the first unit deals with Introduction to GST. So the first unit, it deals with Introduction to GST, and the second unit deals with GST registration and taxable event. So in Introduction to GST, you are going to learn about what is GST, how it came into existence, earlier to GST, what and all the different types of taxes we had, and the types of GST we have, rates of GST we have under the GST purview. That and all you are going to study in this unit number 1. In unit 2, dear students, you are going to discuss about the GST registration and taxable event. Yes, as a supplier or as a business entity, how you are supposed to register with the GST authority, what and all the procedures you are supposed to follow, and what and all the types of online forms you are supposed to fill, and what is the taxable event as per the GST. About that you are going to study. And unit number 3, you are going to study about input tax credit. So what is this input tax credit? Who can take the advantage of this input tax credit? And who is eligible, who is ineligible to input tax credit? About this concepts you are going to study in unit number 3. And unit number 4, it deals with GST assessment. Yes, it also deals with the GST assessment. That is the types of assessment we have under GST and how to assess the accounts or the transaction happened for a particular duration in a particular business entity. About that you will study in unit number 4. Unit number 5 deals with valuations of goods and services under GST. Yes, in this particular chapter we are going to study about how to value the particular goods and services under GST. If you are selling the goods or if you are selling the services, how we are going to value it under the GST purview. What and all the items you are supposed to consider, what and all the items you are not supposed to consider for this particular computation of value of a particular goods. About this you are going to study in this unit number 5. So mainly we have 5 units. Unit 1 deals with Introduction to GST. Unit 2, GST registration and taxable event. Unit 3, input tax credit. Unit 4 deals with GST assessment. Unit 5 deals with valuation of goods and services under GST. So if you look into each chapter in detail, okay, so the first unit, Introduction to GST. Introduction to GST. In this Introduction to GST, you are going to study the introductory part of GST, how it came into existence, when it came into existence, who is the main person who tried to bring this GST concept in India. Everything you are going to learn in introductory part. And in this, you are also going to learn about meaning and definition of GST, objectives of GST, features and advantages of GST, and also the disadvantages of GST. So that means what is the meaning of GST and the definitions we have for the word GST, and what are the objectives, main objectives of GST, that is why it came into existence and all, and what are the advantages as a business entity, as an individual, as a society, what and all the advantages are there under the GST purview, and what and all the disadvantages we have under the GST purview. And also you're going to study about taxes subsumed with GST or taxes subsumed with or under GST. Okay, that means earlier to GST, what the taxes we had, the indirect taxes. So which taxes are subsumed with GST? About that you are going to study. Next, and also the structure of GST, that is the dual model with respect to CGST, SGST and IGST. That also you are going to study about the GST under unit number 1 and GST Council composition and powers and functions of, and also the GST. So you'll also study the GST Council. What is GST Council? Who and all will be there in the GST Council? And you also study about the composition scheme and powers and functions of the GST Council. And you also study about CGST Act and also the features and important definitions of CGST Act. So about this many concepts you'll be studying in unit number 1. And if you look into unit number 2, in unit number 2, it deals with the registration under GST provision and process. Yes, so here you will be discussing about the registration under the GST provision and the process. So how the process will be happen in the GST registration and what the provisions will be having under the GST registration, and also the amendment and cancellation of registration. That means how to amend the GST registration and how to cancel the GST registration. About this you will be studying. And taxable event, with respect to that you will be studying about supply of goods and services, meaning, scope and types of supply of goods and services, and what is composite supply, and you also study about what is mixed supply, determination of time and place of supply of goods and services, and you will also study about the levy and collection of taxes. Next, list of exempted goods and services, and few problems based on the composite supply and mixed supply, and also based on the taxable event under the GST. So you are going to study about two things, that is what is registration under GST and what is taxable event under GST, and how to register with the GST authority, what are the provisions we have, what is the process, what is the documents we required, what is the eligibility criteria to become a registered person or to be registered under the GST authority. And if it comes to taxable event, what is supply and what are the types of supply we have, what is composite supply, what is mixed supply, and how we treat the supply under the GST authority, and how to solve the problems with respect to supply of mixed supply and composite supply under the GST purview. About this you are going to study under unit number 2. Next, unit number 3 deals with input tax credit. So in this input tax credit, the people who are eligible and ineligible input tax credit. Yes, the people who are eligible and ineligible for input tax credits, that you are going to study. And apportionment of credit and blocks. That means in what apportionment we are supposed to issue the credit to the organizations or to the businessman, that you are going to study in input tax credit. Next, credits, tax credit in respect of capital goods, recovery of excess tax credit, availability of credit in special circumstances, and transfer of input tax and reverse charge mechanism. And also you're going to study about tax invoice problems on input tax credit. So in unit number 3 you will be mainly studying about what is input tax credit, who are all eligible to claim input tax credit, who are all not eligible to claim input tax credit, and how to distribute this input tax credit to the business entities, and who will get this input tax credit. And about that we are going to solve a few problems with respect to input tax credit. And we also going to study about what is tax invoice, what and all the elements will be there in the tax invoice. So this we study in unit number 3. Moving on to the unit number 4. Unit number 4, here you will be studying about tax invoice, credit note, debit note, and what is written, what is audit in GST, what is assessment, and in assessment what is self-assessment, and summary and scrutiny of assessment, and special provisions, taxability of e-commerce, anti-profiteering, and also we will be studying about avoidance of dual control, issues in filing of returns, monthly collection targets, GST Council meetings. So here in this 4th unit we will be studying about these many theoretical aspects with respect to unit number 4. That too What is credit note and what is debit note? It is most important. And returns we have under the GST purview. So we have n number of returns: GSTR1, GSTR2, GSTR3, GSTR3B, GSTR3BEA. Like that, we have different types of returns that we will be studying, and the types of assessment what we have under the GST purview, that also we will be studying, and how to do the summary and scrutiny of the assessment of a particular business entity. And also we will be studying about the taxability of e-commerce businesses, and also you'll be studying about the avoidance of dual control issues in filing the returns and monthly collection targets and GST council meetings. This is with respect to unit number 4. Moving further, unit number 5. Unit number 5 deals with valuation of goods and services under GST. So in this, you'll be studying about introduction to valuation under GST and meaning and types of consideration. So what is consideration and what is the meaning of consideration and what are the types of consideration we have? About this we will be studying. And also consideration received through money. Okay, if the consideration received through money, how to treat it? And if consideration not received in money, again how to treat that? And consideration received fully in money, valuation rules for supply of goods and services. And also we will be studying about the general valuation rules with respect to consideration and special valuation rules, that is other cases for valuation of supply, imported services, imported goods, valuation for discount, transaction value, that is the meaning and conditions for transaction value, inclusive transaction value, that is the inclusive transaction value, and exclusive discount excluded from transaction value, and problems on GST. So that means in this particular unit, unit number 5, you will be studying about what is consideration, and if consideration completely or fully considered in money or partially considered in money, how we are supposed to treat it, and what is this value of supply and how to compute the value of supply, how to solve the problems under value of supply, what and all the items we are supposed to include and what and all the items we are supposed to exclude with respect to computation of value of supply. About these many aspects you are going to study in unit number 5. So now moving further, now it's question paper pattern. So how the question paper pattern will be in the main exam. So this particular subject you'll be asking you to write for 60 marks. In 100 marks, see in 100 marks, you are going to write exam for 60 marks, remaining 40 will be your IA, that is internal assessment. This 60 is for exam. So you will be attending this exam for 60 marks, right? You will be attending for 60 marks. So in part A, he will be asking you 7 questions. You are going to attend only 5 questions and each question carries 2 marks. That means in part A, you will be asking 2 mark questions. So how many questions you will be asking? You will be asking 7 questions. You are supposed to attend any 5 questions. Each question carry 2 marks, totally for 10 marks. Okay. Next part B, he will be asking you 4 questions. In part B, he will be asking you 4 questions and you are supposed to attend only 2 questions. Okay, in part B, he will be asking 4 questions. You are answering only 2 questions which carries 10 marks each, totally for 20 marks. Got it? Next part C, you will be asking again 4 questions. You are attending 2 questions. Each question carries 15 marks, totally for 30 marks. So in part A, you will be attending for 10 marks. You will be attending 5 questions, each carries 2 marks. In part B, you will be attending 2 questions, each question carries 10 marks. In part C, you will be attending 2 questions, each question carries 15 marks. So totally you will be attending the main exam for 60 marks. So in main exam for 100, 40 will be your internal assessment and 60 will be your written examination. In 60, you will be asking for 3 parts, part A, part B and part C. Part A, 5 questions for 2 marks each, and part B, 2 questions 10 marks each, and part C, 2 questions 15 marks each, totally for 60 marks. This is your question paper pattern. And if you look into the blueprint of this particular subject, so introduction to GST, from this unit, that is from unit number 1, introduction to GST, they might ask 2 2 marks questions and 1 10 marks question. They might ask 2 2 marks question and 1 10 marks question. And in unit number 2, that is GST registration and taxable event, they might ask 15 marks one question and 10 marks one question. Okay, they might ask 15 marks one question and 10 marks one question. Chapter number 3, that is input tax credit, you might ask two 2 marks questions and one 10 marks question and one 15 marks question. So this unit is very, very important. That is unit number 3, input tax credit. Next, unit number 4, GST assessment. In this, you might ask 2 marks one question, 10 marks one question, 15 marks one question. This chapter is also very much important. You might ask 2 marks one question, 10 marks one question and 15 marks one question. And the last unit, that is valuation of goods and services under GST. For 2 marks, you might ask one question, and also for 15 marks, he will be asking you one question. And also, if possible, you might ask one question for 10 marks also. So these last 3 units are very much important from the viewpoint of your examination. That is unit number 3, unit number 4, unit number 5. This is your blueprint for the main exam for this particular subject, the subject called GST Law and Practice. Okay, next, moving further, book for reference. So if you look into the books for reference, the first one is written by V.S. Date. The book name is Goods and Services Tax. Okay, so book name is Goods and Services Tax, written by V.S. Date. Second one, the book is written by H.C. Mehrotra and V.P. Agarwal. Book name is Goods and Services Tax. So I personally suggest you to go with book 3, that is written by H.C. Mehrotra and S.P. Goyal. The book name is Goods and Services Tax. So if you refer this book, that is the third one, H.C. Mehrotra and S.P. Goyal. So in this book, you'll get all the information relating to your particular subject or the syllabus. Next one, the book is written by R.G. Saha and S.K. Podar and Shruti Prabhakar. That is the Fundamentals of GST and Customs Act, Himalaya Publication House. So the last one is also nice for your reference, where you will get all the information relating to your GST and Customs Act. So if you refer these 4 books, obviously you'll get enough information with respect to your subject and also the syllabus, and it will be helpful to you to score good marks or 100% marks in your main exam. So with this, I'm going to wind up this session. I'll come up with the new sessions with respect to this particular subject. Until then, thank you all. Have a nice day. Namaste.